You set this up again?
I might, hold on.
Good morning. How do I tighten this up? It's so loose. Oh, there we go. Maybe just use it. Yep.
Hey Brenda, AJ, can you direct me to Mel's desk or Mel's phone? Yes. How are you? Yeah, when we're set up, and then I just do a hand countdown because you guys don't take it from the top. You guys took it like 5 seconds. Really didn't hear my countdown. Okay. That's the start. So we're going to go up 20 minutes because then I can go really tight, do some extreme close-ups and
Yeah,
things
I
like
mean,
that.
you'll see. I'll go until I'm
Okay.
not done.
So we'll do all the stuff here. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But can you call me back when you want to wrap then?
No.
Oh? Okay.
Slack. You can slack.
Oh, Slack. Oh, it's Slack me. Okay.
No calling, no conversations. All of that has been going out.
You Slack me then. All right. Plug your mic in.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to be in the shot?
I don't need to.
Almost ready.
Doesn't seem like seems like it's crooked.
The weight of it's tilting it, huh?
Alright, so you're with that?
Yes, Mel's waiting for us here.
How far out from Mel?
I'm sorry.
How
Whenever
far
you, okay, Mel, we're ready. Do you want to give me a countdown? How far out? Should I just let that one?
Yeah, can you make sure it's flat though? I don't think it's...
Let's see if I can tighten this. So if I push this in a little further, balance it out there.
Seems to make it worse. No?
Seems that wire's
Okay.
coming. Okay.
Aloha, good morning. On this Monday, May 21st, we are about to go live on Facebook. So thank you for joining us. We'll have an update here in just a few minutes. Just wanted to go ahead and give you guys a view again from the private property where we have been staying since last week Friday, that has this incredible panoramic view of what's happening here along the lower East Rift Zone.
Aaron's trying to call me.
Fisher 20 is what you're looking at firing there on the right hand side, and the steam that is coming from the lower left side of your screen is the plume that's being created from the lava ocean entry of those two Pahoehoe flows.
Okay, now you ready? Hold on a second. I think she's set up. Her light is on. Yes. Okay, we're good to start.
Aloha, good morning on this Monday, May 21st. As you can see, the Fisher 20 complex is still firing today. That lava fountain has been spewing upwards of 350 feet consistently now, ever since Fisher's 16, 18, 19 combined with Fisher 20 to create what again is now being referred to by USGS HVO scientists as the Fisher 20 complex. Now that Pahoehoe lava that is being produced from this fissure is responsible for creating a river of lava that, as it poured out of this fissure, began trekking down slope, down Rift Makai toward the ocean. It moved 3.8 miles approximately in less than 24 hours, and on Saturday, just before 11 p.m., that Pahoehoe lava flow, which had then split into two lobes, crossed Highway 137 and started pouring into the ocean. And that's what you're looking at there, that white steam that is rising from the coastline. That's where those two lava entry points are. Again, after having cut across Highway 137, right between Pohoiki and Kamaili roads. Now you can see here, walking up from the front yard, are USGS HVO scientists who've been out here in the field for a few hours this morning, taking additional data collection, gathering some lava samples, doing some measurement readings of the situation here along the lower East Rift Zone. These Hawaiian Volcano Observatory geologists have been instrumental, of course, in providing the public with the most updated information as this event has transpired, has played out over the last 2+ weeks. Now, it was in fact the observation of HVO geologists when Pu'u'o'o crater began deflating on April 30th that they first reached out to federal, state, county officials to let them know that there was the possibility of an eruption event along the lower East Rift Zone because of that major deflation that was taking place at Pu'u'o'o, and the possibility that that would send magma, that it would feed magma into an intrusion running underneath the lower East Rift Zone. And that, of course, the challenge there, the uncertainty with that, is that there would be no way of knowing, one, if an eruption would occur, and two, if it did, where those eruptive events would occur. What you're looking at right now are otherwise healthy green leaves that have just been blown by the wind. That's because of the sulfur dioxide that is being emitted into this area, again, just outside of Lanipuna Gardens subdivision. There's been so much of it consistently now since at least last week Saturday, when Fisher 17 developed just outside of this area, that what it is doing is it's causing a lot of the leaves on these trees to start falling. even though they're technically not dead. They haven't turned brown, they're not dried out, they're just otherwise green, healthy leaves that are being knocked off the trees because of the exposure that they've had to sulfur dioxide. When we spoke with residents who live in the area, they said that that was one of the first natural cues that they came across, that there was a situation developing here along the lower East Rift Zone where the natural changes they were seeing in the environment, and certainly, of course, just the unprecedented amount of earthquake activity, the seismicity of the lower East Rift Zone over the last 2-3 weeks has really been something that, again, historically, as they go back over all of the data that is being collected from this event, they'll be able to hopefully process that information and use it later to try to create better projections, if at all possible, for future events. A lot of what is happening here in terms of the expectations of what could occur has come, of course, from prior events, including what I know you guys have heard a lot about, which is the 1955 flow. Much of the activity that has occurred ever since the very first fissure erupted in Leilani Estates on May 3rd has been following the path of the 1955 flow. According to HVO geologists, a lot of that magma from the 1955 flow that never broke through the surface, that never quite erupted into a lava flow or a lava fountain, they believe has been staying underground, that has been insulated, that has been sort of just waiting to be activated. That's what we started seeing, at least in the very early stages of this event, especially in the Leilani Estates area. They say that flow, that lava that was created in the initial stages of this eruption event, starting again on May 3rd on Mohala Street within Leilani Estates. They believe that much of that magma came from the 1955 flow that was still contained underneath the Earth's surface. They know that based on chemical composition analysis that they have done in their lab as they've been trying to, again, sort through the details and the process of what is unfolding here along the lower East Rift Zone. However, what you're looking at right now, Fissure 20, this Pahoehoe flow, this very fast-moving, rapid, fluid lava, this lava, they believe, is new lava. This, they believe, comes from the magma that has drained out of Pu'u'o'o crater, starting with that deflationary event on April 30th. It took about 2 weeks for it to get to this point along the lower East Rift Zone. Keep in mind, again, that we are approximately 20-25 miles from the summit of Kilauea volcano. That booming explosion that you just heard, that is coming from Fissure 17. That broke out just off of Halekamahina Loop Road last week, Saturday, a little more than a week ago. That fissure is the longest lasting of all of the 23 fissures that have since broken out, again, since the very first eruption on May 3rd on Mohala Street within Leilani Estates. Fissure 17 is located just outside of Lenny Puna Gardens subdivision, again, right where we are, and those roaring gas explosions have been non-stop for more than a week now. When we speak to residents who live in this area, and having already now stayed here for 4 days ourselves, it absolutely sounds like a war zone. It sounds like bombs that are being dropping or grenades that are going off. It sounds like several, not just one, but several powerful, large jet engines taking off all at the same time. Many of them are violently loud, but some of them come with an extraordinarily powerful shake where it almost seems like there is a train barreling underneath the ground. We are in a house that is about a quarter mile away from Fissure 17, and also now a quarter mile away from the activity of the fountaining at Fissure 20. And yet when that really powerful gas explosion occurs at Fissure 17, every once in a while it completely shakes this house. All the windows, all the doors rattle. The very first night that we were staying here, one of extraordinarily loud booms jolted me out of bed. And that was because in the darkness of night, it becomes unnerving, unsettling to hear that noise, especially those really roaring, powerful ones, because it's unclear exactly how close it is. What is very odd, as I can share with you in terms of just my own personal experience, is that during the day, you start to grow accustomed to that sound. It just becomes part of what it's like to be out here, and you almost tune it out. The really, really loud ones, of course, definitely grab your attention. But at night, when it's dark and you're not totally sure exactly what direction, where that boom is coming from, it starts to become, again, rather unnerving. And that's part of what the experience has been like for those residents who right now are safe in the sense that they are uprift. They are also upwind of this incredible activity that is playing out in their front yard here along the Lower East Rift Zone. This area now that has been transformed into a lava field in just the last week was once a very densely packed albizia forest area. This was an area, they said, that had so many albizia trees, they did not even realize how many neighbors they had on the other side of what now is this lava clearing. And so as a result, now that they can see, again, so clearly what the situation is on the other side of this newly formed lava field, they were surprised to see that there were so many homes on that edge of the Lanipuna Gardens subdivision. We unfortunately, again, in the time that we have been here since last week Friday, we have watched several of those structures come down. The last check from Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency officials is that 47 structures have been claimed, both in the Leilani Estates area and just outside of Lanipuna Gardens subdivision, including all the way down to where these two Pohoihoi flows have crossed Highway 137 and entered into the Pacific Ocean. As you can see with that steam, that cloud that continues to rise up from that area. Now let's talk a little bit about the ocean entry situation for those of you who, of course, I'm sure are very curious about wanting to get a closer look. Now, the warning that comes from the Civil Defense Agency here in Hawaii is that getting a closer look will certainly come with risk. And among the risks that they want to warn residents and visitors about is something called LAZE, lava haze. That's the terminology that is used by HVO geologists. Now, LAZE is formed when hot lava hits the ocean, sending hydrochloric acid and steam with fine glass particles into the air. LAZE can cause significant harm to a person's respiratory system, in addition to being an eye and skin irritant. We heard from at least one of the HVO field scientists yesterday that if you start to feel your skin stinging, that means that you likely have come in contact with LAZE, and you of course need to move out of that situation indoors, try to shower off right away. Now the problem of course with LAZE is that it's in this ocean plume that is carried by whatever direction the wind is blowing, and you can see it right now just billowing up at this time, according to the overflight assessment that was done earlier this morning by Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency officials. What they tell us is that right now, the sulfur dioxide, the LAZE that is being created by this plume is moving along the shoreline toward the southwest, meaning that any of those communities southwest again of these 2 points of ocean entry from the Pohoihoi flows that have been created by Fisher 20. So we're talking about neighborhoods like Kamaili, neighborhoods like Seaview, Kaimu, Kalapana. They're all right now being exposed to not just this LAZE, but also what USGS HVO officials have told us is triple the sulfur dioxide emission that was previously detected in that area. So again, anyone with respiratory difficulties is being asked to stay upwind to avoid this area right now at all costs. There is of course 3 American Red Cross emergency shelters that have been set up to assist anyone in this community that has been displaced as a result of this eruptive event, whether it's because of a fissure opening up in their backyard, losing a home, or the exposure to sulfur dioxide or LAYS. And all three of those shelters, Pahoa Community Center, Kea'au Community Center, and the Sure Foundation Church in Kea'au, all three of them are also pet friendly. Now, the other hazards that officials ask us to please let you guys know about, to warn you about, that can come as a result of this ocean activity is newly formed lava deltas or existing cliffs could collapse at a moment's notice. They caution that there is also the potential for localized tsunamis along the coastline and out to sea. Now, the United States Coast Guard has established a safety zone that encompasses all waters extending 300 meters or about 1,000 feet in all directions around the entry of the lava flow into the ocean for all vessels without prior limited entry approval. And that's really going to be limited to permitted lava tour boat operators. So keep that in mind as well. For folks who are wondering how those lava tour boat operators are allowed to be in the area, that again is because they are permitted. They are aware of the safety conditions that they need to adjust to at a moment's notice, including if the winds shift. And so long as those boats do remain upwind, we are told that there is no issue again, but the United States Coast Guard is there to help monitor the situation as needed. Now, keep in mind, Highway 137, of course, is closed between Kamaili and Pohoiki roads. Kamaili Road itself is also closed to all through traffic. The Department of Water Supply says an emergency water restriction does remain in effect for customers between Kapoho and Pohoiki, and that's because of the flow that crossed Pohoiki Road and cut off the water supply to residents. That is something that they are trying to address still this morning. My understanding is that water tankers have been brought in to provide public drinking water access to the residents, but also those visitors who they know are staying in vacation land and Kapoho beach lots. In the meantime, Hawaii Electric Light Company is also working to make sure that any downed power lines are addressed and any electricity that needs to be restored is done so as quickly as possible. The most recent update that came out from the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency officials reminds folks that sulfur dioxide levels again are extremely high. They ask everyone to take action to limit their exposure. They do say, however, that all of the Puna area schools are currently open this morning, and that they are working, of course, around the clock to continue monitoring those SO2 levels to maintain the safety of the community. Now, hazardous conditions, though, again, have provided for the need for emergency evacuation routes, which is exactly what they are working on. Highway 130 is open right now to local traffic, especially for those communities that live on the Kalapana or Kaimu side of the closure that is taking place at Kamaili Road. And so they are asked again, if possible, to take Highway 130, realizing that there are steel plates across the highway there, and that does mean that there will be some weight restrictions. So those really large, potentially commercial sized vehicles may have issues traveling on Highway 130, and so you need to be aware of that. There is access outside of this road closure that has been put in place, though, on the Kapoho side of Pohoiki and Kamaili roads where Highway 137 was crossed. Again, for those of you who are joining us live on this Monday, May 21st, you are looking right now at a live look of the Fisher 20 complex, as it's being referred to by USGS HVO scientists in the field, who say that this is the result, this very dynamic lava fountain that has been spewing lava upwards 350 feet over the last few days here. The sheer volume and amount of lava that is coming from this fissure, USGS HVO scientists tell us, is unlike anything that they have ever experienced along the lower East Rift Zone. And it is, of course, an area of concern because all of that lava needs to go somewhere. What has been very interesting is just downrift of this fissure, a puka, a hole, was detected during an overflight by Civil Defense Agency officials yesterday afternoon. It's only about 100 yards away from where this fisher is firing. Again, the Fisher 20 complex. What's significant about this hole in the ground is they say they've watched the Pahoehoe lava that is being produced by this fisher start filling into that hole. What's unclear is how far down that hole goes, whether it could potentially be feeding a lava tube that could pop up in yet another neighborhood or area, or if it will simply stack up and then create another river, another potential lava lake from this location, again, just about 100 yards downrift from Fisher 20. It's a situation that they are monitoring carefully because it adds to the unknown. They also say that it creates an unknown about how long this ocean entry will take place. And again, that's where that white steam that is billowing from the coastline, that's where the lava, the Pahoehoe flow from Fisher 20 is entering into the water in an area of Poho'iki, again on the southeast coast of Hawaii Island here in the Puna district, northeast of Mackenzie State Park, and southwest of Isaac Hale Beach Park, and a very popular surf spot, Poho'iki, that has not been impacted by this flow at this time. What officials tell us is it's unclear how long that ocean entry will get the fuel from the Pahoehoe flow now that this hole has opened up downrift of this fisher, and that's something that they're keeping an eye on. Again, that booming sound that you heard roaring across, ricocheting across this lava field, comes from that still very active Fisher 17, which is fountaining itself as well. However, the situation there is they believe the magma that is underneath the ground, underneath the surface in that particular location, they think that that is either from the 1955 flow, that lava that is tossing up lava bombs, spewing out debris, shooting it upwards into the sky 500 feet in the air. They believe that that's either from the 1955 flow or possibly older. And again, this is an analysis that USGS HVO officials are able to do based on a chemical composition review that they have done in their lab. Now, it's significant if that is 55 or older flow magma, only because according to Hawaiian Volcano Observatory geologists, that means that there's absolutely no way to have any sort of indication as to how long this eruption event could last. There is still, of course, all of the magma that has been draining from Halema'uma'u crater up at the summit of Kilauea volcano. And there's a question, of course, of where all of that magma is going and how much it may be feeding this lower East Rift Zone, the intrusion that is, again, running underneath the ground through this area. Now, as far as the activity that is taking place at the summit of Kilauea volcano, according to the most recent update that was provided by USGS officials, again, they've got field scientists who are working around the clock ever since this started on April 30th with the deflation of Pu'u'o'o crater. What they tell us is that the situation right now at the summit of Kilauea volcano is that they have continued to have several of those steam explosions. Nothing as powerful, though, as the event that we saw Thursday morning around 4:15 local time when it sent an ash plume 30,000 feet into the air, as confirmed by National Weather Service radar. We also haven't seen any of that dark, menacing ash cloud that we saw from last week Tuesday. That was when, of course, it hovered over the volcano area and really led to a lot of uncertainty and concern for visitors and residents there. But that was the result of just consistent rock falls that were happening within the lava lake. A reminder that ashfall is a hazard. It is an irritant. It is not toxic or poisonous, but it can certainly impact anyone who already has respiratory difficulties, which is why they ask those communities that are downwind, south, southwest of the eruptive activity that is taking place. Medical professionals. Now, they will guard you against the ash particulate in the air, but they of course will not protect you from sulfur dioxide exposure. The only way, of course, to avoid that is to stay out of those areas completely. But again, the report coming from USGS HVO officials is that there have been continued smaller steam explosions at Hale-Ma'uma'u crater, which is exactly what they anticipated would happen based on their understanding of the 1924 event, which again, all of that historical data they're using to model and to try to predict and project what may happen. Keep in mind, there's no way to know with any kind of certainty whatsoever what will happen out here as a result of all of the activity along the lower East Rift Zone. But they do know, and again, what you're listening to there is that roar from Fissure 17. What they do know is that the amount of seismic activity and what they understand to be the amount of magma that has drained from Pu'u'o'o and Hale-Ma'uma'u crater indicates that, at least for now, this event is nowhere near done. And that is exactly why officials are asking everyone to please stay as informed and as vigilant as possible for those residents and visitors of the lower Puna area. That means signing up for the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency Blackboard messaging service, which will provide you with information on any road closures, mandatory evacuations, Hawaii County Nixle alerts through the police department, and also, of course, the USGS HVO Kilauea email updates that are released several times throughout the day as needed. We have heard the sound of helicopter activity pick up here along the lower East Rift Zone, and we know that the Civil Defense Agency officials have been doing an overflight throughout this morning to try to gain a better understanding of just the sheer extent of the lava activity that has happened here over the last 2 weeks. And again, where we have been able to see this unobstructed panoramic view of some of the most active of the fissures along the lower East Rift Zone. We want to thank our private property owners, our incredibly gracious hosts, for allowing us to be here over the last several days so that we could provide you guys with these images of what is happening in real time. Another one of those loud explosions. We definitely felt that shake underneath our feet. And we invite you, of course, to stay tuned to Hawaii News Now, on air, online, streaming on your mobile device through our free mobile app, and of course, all of our social media platforms as well. Take care of yourself. Take care of one another. Malama pono. Aloha. Ahui ho.
What is it for 15 minutes? Tell them to have it know when you're done.
No, we have to be done. You have to tell them we have to wrap up.
Just gotten it on. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to take one in and then out for a package that we're going to put together.
I'll take it off live.